Howdy gamers, and as we know, I love video games and paper, but I also love sequels, so that's why today we're going to be taking a look at The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventure. It's the sequel to 4 Swords, so let's go ahead and... Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door, apart from being just way too overpriced on eBay, is also known as one of the best games of all time. Everyone talks about this game as being oh so good, but before playing it, I wasn't too sure about that. I mean, yeah, it's expensive, but so is Hello Kitty Kart Cruisers, and something tells me that's not the most high quality game. Still though, I did manage to find a copy of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door that wouldn't require me to sell my final kidney, which was pretty nice. And yeah, this game is pretty freaking good. If I was to describe this game in only 13 words, I would probably say it's a lot like the first game, except it improves upon almost every aspect of it. That's not even an exaggeration either. I don't think there's much that this game does that's worse than the original. I mean, sure, there's no spin dash, and now I realize why there's an asterisk next to its title, but even God's not perfect. I mean, I looked him up on Google Images, and he has some pretty short fingers. Anyways, I feel like the best way that the Thousand Year Door improved upon the original is the combat system. I was already a big fan of the combat system in the original, and they pretty much just copy and pasted that over, and then fixed all the problems. First up, the badge system returns. The exact same as it was before. Badges are just extra perks that you can equip, and they really add replayability and are just cool. First off, there are the good ones that can help you, like when Mario has 5 health, enemies will occasionally miss, or when Mario uses his hammer, it'll make silly sounds. These are the ones you'll want to equip because, I mean, enemies missing their attacks on you is helpful, and Mario's hammer making silly sounds is the peak of comedy. On the other hand though, if you're replaying the game and are looking for more of a challenge, there are the negative ones that are bad, like Mario takes double damage or Mario looks like Luigi. For the most part, the bad ones don't take up badge points, since I mean, you're using them to make the game more difficult, but all the good ones do. You start off the game with only 3 badge points, and depending on how good a badge is, it'll take up more points. So, one that increases Mario's defense by 1 takes 5 badge points. Badges don't always take up 5 badge points though, it can be anywhere from 0 to 7, but that might seem confusing, because if you only have 3 badge points, how can you equip a badge that takes 7? And while you could always sin, the holidays are coming up, and I don't want my family to look at me funny because I used an action replay for Paper Mario. So, if you want your family to respect you, you'll play Paper Mario the way God intended and just level up. Basically, when you beat an enemy, you'll get star points. The harder an enemy, the more you get. But no matter how weak an enemy, you'll always get 1. Then, once you reach 100 star points, you can choose to level up either health, badge points, or flower points. When you choose to level up badge points, you get an extra 3, and you can get up to 99. Honestly, the badges are just so cool. They allow for unique playthroughs and also are fun to get. The main way to get them is through star pieces. Basically, hidden throughout the game are star pieces that you can trade in for badges with Dazzle. This is more fun than it deserves any right to be, because you just get to go out and explore them. Even if you don't care about the badges, I still found them fun to get. But if you do want badges, since I mean, that's what they're for, you just trade them into Dazzle, and honestly, this is how you'll get some of your best badges. Another way you can get badges though is from buying them from this guy. Every so often he'll have new badges, and the final way is just from finding them lying around. You might have to do a puzzle, do some backtracking, or even a side quest to get these, and just to sum up my opinion about badges, they're pretty neat. They're so cool, they allow you to have a unique character build, and it's tough to know whether to choose to upgrade flower points, health points, or badge points. Also, I haven't explained what either of those are, so health points is just your normal health points. When you upgrade it, it'll go up by 5, and flower points is just similar to mana. Basically, some attacks will take flower points to use. These are just better attacks than your base ones. They can do anything from heal, prevent Mario from taking damage, to damaging all of your opponents, and the better a move is, the more FP it'll take. These are really varied, and you can get them from badges, powering up Mario, or powering up your partners. You power up your partners with plagiarism, and you can find the reuse of assets hidden in places that you then have to search for. You probably won't even find all of them, which is really nice for replayability, but also keeps you on your toes so you're not just mindlessly going through the game. Then, once you have 3 shine sprites, you can talk to Merlin, and he'll upgrade one of your partners. This is a really fun part of the game because, like I said, they get to learn a new move, but they also get to have more health, and it feels really rewarding. Also, yeah, plot twist, partners have health in this game, which is a huge upgrade from 64 where they just didn't, and it sort of felt weird. Like, you're telling me this dumb, stupid, pea yellow baby that probably definitely can't even recite the Poké Rap has infinitely more health than Mario? Here though, that's not an issue because number one, the baby in this game has a mohawk, which is pretty freaking cool. Also, he has health now, and so did the other partners. This means that they can die now, which, not that I would know that, none of my partners died. I'm good at video games, I swear. I mean, would someone with this many copies of Super Mario 3D All-Stars really be bad at video games? My fragile ego aside though, the health for partners is actually really cool. If a partner dies in battle, that means you can't switch them out and you'll be stuck without a partner for that battle, which means you have to make sure your partner doesn't die so that you can continue to use other partners. And since different partners have different amounts of health on the harder bosses in this game, this is really cool. It might sound like it doesn't matter, but the partners having health in this game really helps to make the battle system better because it allows for more fleshed out gameplay. Like in the first game, you could switch the order of you and your partner so your partner is first, but all that meant was that they would attack first. But now if you do that, you can also have your partner defend, so that means if the enemies attack the front, they'll attack your partner who's defending, so not as much damage will be done. Of course, attacking and freaking dying aren't the only things your partner can do. They can also appeal to the crowd using ethos, logos, and pathos, which is something new to Thousand Year Door. Gone are the days of Paper Mario taking place in a book. Books are dumb and are for underpaid English teachers to make students read, but plays on the other hand, I mean, they're still lame, but they make for some pretty cool gameplay mechanics. Basically, throughout the game, there's a crowd watching you, and if you appeal to them as Mario or your partner, they'll give you adoration, which fills the star meter a little bit. The more people there are in the crowd, the more the star meter will fill. That's not even the only way to get adoration from the crowd. When you attack an opponent, you can get some that way. Of course, I said the more people in the crowd, the more adoration they give, so how does one get more people in the crowd? I'm sure your grandma would love to hear this. You get them through bingos. Every time you attack an enemy, you'll get a card, and once you get 2 of the same and do an attack, you'll get a spinning roulette where you try to line up the picture. If you line up 3 flowers, your FP will be maxed out. If you line up 3 hearts, your health will be maxed out, and so on and so forth. In addition to that though, it also causes the crowd to be maxed out, and once again, the more people in the crowd, the more adoration you get, meaning the more your star meter will fill. The star meter is a lot like the star power from the first game, except here it's even better. In the first game, once you had enough star points, you'd be able to use a move from it, but here, the same base idea applies, but instead, you get to do action commands along with it. So for example, when you do the Sweet Treat star move, you have to aim the star to hit the pictures of you and your partner to get health, as well as the flowers to get FP. But you have to do this while avoiding the poison mushrooms, which will stun you. This is a really good addition in my opinion. Almost any risk-reward thing in a battle system is a major win in my book, because it made it more intense when I was at low health and needed to heal, because what if I mess up and am unable to heal? This also applies to the other star powers, like Art Attack, where you draw around the enemy as fast as you can, making sure you don't miss. Continuing with the action commands, all the base moves have them too, except there was a lot more originality this time around. Basically, the action commands are just ways to do more damage when attacking by doing a simple button prompt correctly. I just freaking love these, and it feels so natural and is so satisfying when you pull them off. This time around though, there's even more button prompts available than before. I mean, considering there's more buttons on the GameCube controller to begin with, I'd be kind of worrying if there weren't, but it's still nice. It just helps to keep all the moves feeling somewhat unique, and like I said, it's super rewarding to do the action commands. They even added another layer to this with stylish moves. At certain points during the attack animation, just press A and Mario will do a stylish move where the crowd will give more star points because of just how freaking cool that was. Technically you can guess when to press A, and I mean sure that works, but it's about as effective as trying to put a Wii disc in blindfolded. So, if you want to not just spam A every time you attack so the crowd can cheer a bit more, you can get a badge for it, and it will give the button prompts of when to press A. I'm sure that you can guess what I'm going to say about stylish attacks, but I'll say it anyways. The stylish attacks are pretty neat. They add more depth into the combat system and help you to stay engaged, not just mindlessly watch attacks. Don't worry though, I'm almost done singing the praises of Thousand Year Door's combat system. There's just some more returning stuff that I haven't mentioned yet, like the first strikes. Basically, this game does the amazing deed of not having random encounters. Just like the first game, you'll see an enemy on the overworld, which means you can easily go around them if you're not in the mood to kill a flower. But if you do want to do that, it's a good idea to try to get the first strike on them. In this game, you can use your hammer and jump moves in the overworld, which is usually used to solve some puzzles, and please note the heavy use of quotations on puzzles. It's literally just hitting a block with a hammer, but if you hit your hammer or use your jump on an enemy on the overworld, you can do a first strike where you get to do a free attack on them. Conversely though, they can get a first strike on you, so you have to keep a lookout for that. Another thing returning from the first game though is the blocking system, except here they improved upon it even more. In the first game, when an enemy is attacking you, if you pressed A when they attacked, you would duck and take less damage. You had a small window to do it, and now this returns in the Thousand Year Door, except now you can also press B and you'll take no damage, and you'll get to do some damage to the enemy. It's a small amount, but you'll feel like William Henry Harrison on his 32nd day in office when you pull it off. It's really hard to do, but it's something you can get better and better at as the game goes on. It adds a cool risk-reward system where you can either press A, which is easier and takes less damage, or you can risk it all and press B, but you have a high chance of messing it up and taking damage. It can be really intense at times, especially since this game is definitely harder than the original. In the original, it just felt like baby's first RPG. There were a few hard bosses, and while Thousand Year Door is definitely no Lucio Ball on the Switch in terms of difficulty, it's still sometimes a challenge. The final few bosses in this game definitely gave me a run for my money, and as well, I wasn't just storing all the items I got away in the shop, I was actually using them this time around. Because the first game was so easy, I was just not using any items, and they would just build up and build up. But this time around, I was using items as I was getting them. In this game, the items are nothing crazy, just your normal heal, stunning, confusing, and put enemies to sleep, and deal a lot of damage to one or all enemies type items. And even though they aren't anything revolutionary, I still liked having them and actually used them. I wasn't buying them or anything, since the game still gives you a lot of them from beating enemies or just finding them, but still, it's a nice improvement. Actually though, that was kind of a problem in this game, since there wasn't much to spend your money on from what I can tell. There's the items, but like I said, you don't need to buy them since the game gives you enough. There's also the lottery, but I don't get why I would spend my money just to get more money, because there's nothing I can spend it on but more lottery tickets. The only thing I really did end up spending my money on were these occasional heal boxes that cost around 10 coins. I mean, why not? The only other thing you can really spend your money on in this game is a crippling gambling addiction or the hint lady. But no one tell Nintendo yet. The internet exists and you can find some pretty crazy stuff on there. I mean, it's mostly... But you can also find internet walkthroughs, so this was kind of pointless. Like, most of the time when I got stuck, I was too far away from the hint lady to do something. Like when you're on the moon, that's at least 5 miles from Earth, and I'm not in the mood to walk all the way back just to get a hint. That's not to say she's not helpful, she honestly is, but she's just too situational for her to be actually useful. It would have made more sense if you could just talk to her from anywhere, or at least make her more accessible. But because there's nothing to spend my money on, I had 99 coins for the last few chapters, which... Cool, I've always wanted to know what it was like to hate the poor, but I still can't help to feel like I'm the reason trickle-down economics doesn't work. Also, even though I didn't want to backtrack to go to the hint lady, oh boy, this game will still make you backtrack anyways. Especially in the final chapter, oh my god, that beginning part is really annoying. But even then, the game has you backtrack at least once a chapter, which kinda felt unnecessary. Like when you're at the Thousand Year Door, the game will teleport you back to where you need to go, but that's the only time where it tries to eliminate backtracking. Like in chapter 5, you have to walk 10 minutes here, then walk 7 minutes back, and if you didn't find the hidden item, which I mean, it's hidden, so you probably didn't, you have to walk 8 minutes to the hidden item, then 7 minutes back, and then walk 8 minutes to where you had already walked the first time, and then you're done. That might not sound bad, and if it does, that's because it is, because it happens every chapter. I can get backtracking in Metroidvanias, but here you're not exploring an old area with new power-ups or something, you're just backtracking for the sake of what I would assume to be padding, but the game didn't even really need padding because it's already a good length. The backtracking is made a bit more bearable though thanks to the amazing places. The set design really stepped up from the first game, all of the backgrounds are more detailed, as well the places as a whole. These really feel like all realized places, which is nice. Some places just have amazing atmosphere, especially Twilight Town, like, god, this is good. The lighting is perfect, and same with the backgrounds here. I like that they even created new Mario species just to fit a place. It really helps to make towns stand out, and even the towns that don't have unique races still have some cool characters that don't just seem like a Koopa Troopa. They seem like, well, a Koopa Troopa, but one that has a personality and looks unique. It also helps that, just like the first game, the graphics look really good. I don't know how they did it considering this is the same console that had Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, but the game's graphics speak for themselves. Of course, the graphics and combat system aren't even the only improvement to this game. In addition to working as a way better bookmark than the first game, this game's story is also way better. The first game's plot was kinda basic: big bad kidnaps princess, so go white boy go. But here, Bowser is a side character and the main villain is the mysterious X-Nauts. As the story goes on, you'll learn more and more about them, as well about the Thousand Year Door. You don't fully understand the Thousand Year Door or what's going on till the end, so it'll leave you guessing. There's also the Shadow Sirens, who are somewhat interesting, I guess. They have a fun dynamic, but you might be wondering how we find out about what's going on with the X-Nauts, and that's through the Princess Peach segments. And compared to the first game, I just can't help but be disappointed. These weren't taken to the vet and neutered, these were taken to the vet and freaking put down. Instead of the fun stealth segments of the original, all we have are walk to the right and talk to a computer. Now, I do like the relationship between the robot and Peach, as well as the story that's unfolding, but I kinda miss the actual gameplay. There are some sort of gameplay segments, but they aren't fun. You aren't sneaking around really either, you're just walking where the game tells you to go or pressing buttons that the game tells you to press. I think Intelligent Systems knew that this was a downgrade though, so to make up for it, they added another story segment where you get to play as Bowser, but I didn't like this segment either. Once again, I love the story aspect of it. Seeing Bowser as he fails to track down Mario or a crystal star is just kinda funny. Also, it's interesting to see Bowser's reaction to everything going on. I just wish the gameplay part of it all wasn't here. The concept sounds cool enough. Getting to play Mario-themed 2D platforming levels as Bowser sounds like every 11-year-old's fan game come true. But the platforming levels are just so freaking basic to a point where they're not even fun. Not only do they pose no challenge, the level design is just boring. The game never really introduces anything new, especially if you've already played a 2D Mario game, and judging by the fact that this is a Mario spin-off game, I'm assuming most people have. I mean, no one plays Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix and thinks, you know what? This would make for a pretty good paper RPG. Also, you would think that Bowser's the only one to have platforming segments to make them stand out more, and while he is the only one to have platforming segments, there's still a decent amount of platforming with Mario. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but there still are some annoying aspects to it, like now you can fall into water and lose some health, which is just kind of unnecessary. You won't fall into this trying to make a jump or something, you'll just be not paying attention, then uh-oh, you lost your health. That's just another example of one of those things that 64 has over this game. Like, now I can't eat handfuls of peanut butter while playing because I actually have to be paying attention when I'm walking around towns, even though they have no enemies. Of course, like I said, there's more platforming than just that. There's this cool gimmick where sometimes you'll enter a pipe and get transported into the background, and sometimes there will be some light platforming there. The backgrounds in this game, and even the past game, were just gorgeous, so here getting to interact with them in some way was really cool. There's also some platforming beneath town, which I was fine with. It added a nice challenge, and when you revisit these areas with new characters and abilities, it's fun to see how you can traverse it differently. Also, if you're wondering if this underground segment is a lot like the one from the first game, it kinda is. This is where you'll access a majority of the different chapters in this game, and I would say that's for better or for worse, but no, this is definitely way worse than it worked in the last game. In the last game, it felt like one big interconnected world, which is so cool. For whatever reason, in games, I just love when the whole world is connected. It just makes it feel more realized and gives it a sense of depth. But here, for the most part, you'll just access every chapter through pipes in the underground, which isn't as fun. Not every chapter works like this, but most do, which kinda stinks. I mean, who knows, maybe you don't even have a problem with that, and it's not even like it's a deal breaker for me. I still like this game more than the original. I mean, after all, it makes for a better bookmark. Also, just because the world isn't as connected doesn't mean it doesn't feel as real. I mean, obviously I'm not worried that Dupless is gonna appear in my room at 3 AM. I'm much worried about Dr. Wily from the Mega Man 3 box art, but what I mean by that is that the world still feels lived in. There are so many different people that you can all interact with who feel so unique. And then you just have Rogueport, and oh my god, I don't know if this counts as a hub world, but if it does, it's definitely my favorite out of any video game. It might not seem like it at first glance, but there is so much to do here. First off, as the game goes on, Rogueport changes, whether it's dialogue changes from people living here, or just people changing. It's so cool to come back from a chapter and see what's changed. One of my favorite parts of completing a chapter was just hunting down Luigi to see what he would have to say. Basically, while you're going on an adventure, so is Luigi, and he'll appear to tell you how it's going, and Normally, I don't care for this type of thing in most games, but here, I actually liked it. His stories are pretty interesting, and he'll always have someone standing next to him that was somehow affected by Luigi's shenanigans, and will complain about how Luigi ruined their life and how his story is kinda not true. Honestly, the small things like that in Rogueport are just awesome. Of course, there's more to Rogueport than just Luigi. As you play through the game, you unlock more and more partners which can do special things. I won't spoil what they can do, but with these you can come back to Rogueport and interact with things you couldn't before, finding some secrets. And as the game goes on, more and more of Rogueport opens up, which is awesome. There's even the mission port here where you can do a bunch of optional side quests. And in most games I don't really like to do side quests, and here, yeah, I didn't do any of them, but they're still cool to have. And this is definitely better than 64's mail side quests. But not only do these side quests give you actual rewards and maybe possibly a hidden party member, but they also allow you to learn more about the backstory behind Rogueport, because it's a pretty mysterious town. Now, to be fair, I'm no Thousand Year Door lore master. Like I said, I didn't do any of the storyboard side quests, but I do know that this game is great at telling a story, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was interesting. And if you have trust issues and don't believe me that this game is amazing at telling a story, literally one of the best chapters in this game has no actual combat and it's just one giant mystery, which is impressive for an RPG to make a chapter that has little combat and for me to still enjoy it. It's not even just this one chapter that has their own mini story. All of the chapters do, and the game is sure to make sure it all ties back into the main story some way. And they're also so perfectly paced, and quite a few of them have some sort of twist, which is really cool. Back to the side quests though, because I didn't even get to mention the Pit of 100 Trials. 100 floors of pure combat, and the reward? I don't know, did you really think I'd do all 100 floors? I did do quite a few of them, and honestly it's a lot of fun. If you have the game and you've never tried this out, I honestly recommend it. Even if you don't do all 100 floors, you'll still get some rewards, plus, like I said, it's honestly a lot of fun. There are even more side quests than those though. In order to stay cool and trendy, Mario uses email now. And sometimes people who he's met will email him asking for him to come visit or to come help them. This is honestly another good example of the game making the characters and the world feel more real. And I know I've been going on and on about the world building of this game, and I mean, it's a freaking Mario game, but still. I won't spend too much time on this, but the fact that depending on which partner you have, they'll react differently to scenarios is so cool. It makes you feel more connected to your partner through such a simple action. I mean, it's not like you're gonna get too attached to them, but still. That's about it though. There isn't really too much left for me to say about this game, but I would be doing Intelligent Systems a great disservice if I didn't mention how funny this game is. It's not like you're gonna be laughing non-stop from beginning to end, but like most Intelligent System games, it definitely has its moments. I laughed out loud a few times while playing. That was Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door, and for a paper-based video game that's also a sequel, I'm not too sure what else I could have asked for. I mean, yeah, the spin dash and the world feeling more connected would have been nice, but those are just some minor flaws, and I still really enjoyed the game. That's why to give it a score of 100, I would honestly give it a 97 out of 100. Like I said, it was just a few minor flaws, but I still enjoyed my time with this game, and that's why I'd give it my Best Paper Game award, because this is definitely the best paper game I've ever played. Frick, I've got to stop ending sentences like that. I guess this is just one of the best paper-based games I've ever played, because I haven't played Super Paper Mario yet, so I don't know if this is the best paper-based game, or that is. So I guess I'll have to play Super Paper Mario next to see if this game is better than that game. But if you want to know if Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door is right for you, I mean, I just talked about it for over 20 minutes. You can probably tell by now, so until next time, stay safe, and I love you guys.